Virginia, Section 2.2-3711. We're going to closed session to discuss A5 industrial business prospects and A7 legal.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Who wants first? I'll call the Board of Supervisors meeting back to order. I'd like to start with Sandy Ellswick is here to say the prayer, and Kelly Woods will lead us in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got a full house tonight, so welcome everybody, and glad you can make it and participate. So I need a motion for what we discussed in closed session, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that based on the Code of Virginia, Section 2.2-3711, we went into closed session to discuss industrial business prospects and A7 legal. That was A5 industrial business prospects and A7 legal.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented and the additional agenda.
Move to adopt. Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Need a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting October the 9th, 2018.
Move to approve. Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Financial status, Mr. Carter.
Members of the board, you should have a information packet in front of you. It begins with a revenue summary. I'll go quickly through these attachments. Your first page of your revenue summary, if you look at the bottom of Fund 1, I always try to go across the columns, the budget amount, and then the second column. The budgeted amount was your original budget you adopted in June. The next column is any amendments that have taken place since the original adoption. The current amount is the amount in your AP for today's consideration, and your year-to-date is a collection of all that information to date. As you can see at the bottom of Fund 1, you had an original of $24,094,680. Your year-to-date is $8,646,729.26. Of that, the current is $4,182,421.87. You have a remaining balance in Fund 1 of $15,447,950.74. It's about 64% of what you anticipated, and that coincides fairly well with the months into the budget that we are. Pages 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the additional funds that county looks at to include in its budget. There, you will see at the bottom of page 6 under the budget amount, that was your original adopted budget of $87,634,888. You have made a few amendments since its original adoption. It's now at 87,875, 546. Your year-to-date collection and revenues, 26,108,692. Again, with about 70% left to collect. If you'll look at the next report's an expenditure report, which is same time frame. Again, bottom of that, Fund 1, 24,408,637. Your year-to-date is 8,445,669.94. The current amount is 3,413,143.69. Leaves you with about 15,962,967. Again, about a 65% remaining in your expenditure. So they're pretty close in comparison on the reporting. Again, pages 2, 3, 4, and at the end of page 4 is your total expenditure. If you go across the very bottom, again, these are expenses out of each of those respective funds. At the very bottom, your adopted 87,634,888, your amended 87,875, 440 or 546. Your current amount total is 8,620,432.27. Your year-to-date, 25,294, 916.98. For a total of unencumbered of 62,586.29. So if you take the difference in the year-to-dates from the revenue and expenses, the revenues are exceeding the expenses at this point by $813,775.50. Those are your two AS 400 reports. The next one is a one-page sheet that identifies the departments and the expenditures from 1 year to the next. And if you go down through those, you can see which departments are a little up, a little lower. Basically, it's all time. Whenever the bills come in, these are timing mechanisms. You look at the bottom, November 17, you had a total of 833,926.77. In 18, you had 905, 862.74. So in this AP comparison, we're about 71,935 ahead of last year. But again, that depends on some of the invoices coming in and the timing that we work through those. The next sheet would be past fiscal years, 11, 12, all the way up to current. And that basically gives you a snapshot of each year dating back to 2011-12 as to the deposits and expenditures collected throughout those years up until today. And then your last report, I think there was some inquiries about possibly trying to make this a little easier instead of flipping. And some of these things, quite honestly, we have to flip. But on this one, we were able to compare and put the 17-18 on the same page. So very quickly, we'll run down through that. 17's on the left, 18 on the right. The first sheet is the expenses and deposits. So very quickly, we'll start with deposits. In 17, we had 6,657,798.91. In 18, we had 6,457,586.21. So we're about $200,000 less in deposits. Again, that's a timing mechanism. Expenditures, 17, 6,918,929. In 18, 7,530,868. That's up $611,939. A lot of that, if you remember back previous month, we bought trucks and trailers and all that. So as the budget continues to go through its cycle, those numbers should find their way back. Look at the subtotals. For 17, we had 5,155,824.47. In 18, we had 5,285,344.42. So subtotal-wise, we were up $129,000. We get to the unspent. In 17, we had an unspent of $427,502. In 18, $615,068. So we were up $187,566 in unspent appropriations. That gets us to our balance for the end of October. In 17, we were 4,728, 322. In 18, we're 4,670, 275. That's 58,000 less than where we were a year ago. But again, we've made several significant purchases the first half of this year, so we'll see how the rest of that pans out. The Treasurer's Office prepares this report, so included in that balance is the Police Activity Fund, which a year ago was $1,101,888. This year it's $882,800. So that kind of gives you the front part of that report. The second page of this actually is an identifier of the unspent that we previously discussed on the front page. If you look down those columns, you will see that compared to a year ago, for the Department of Social Services a year ago, the unspent was $33,470. This year it's $110,306. The county school and capital outlay a year ago was $356,932. This year it's $485,445. And for the county a year ago was $37,098. This year it's $19,316. So that kind of helps you understand what those unspent amounts equate to. And then finally, you have a page 3 of that report, which is called the Smyth County Water Sewer Uncollected County Taxes page. And in a quick snapshot of that, as a reminder, the Treasurer's Office tracks the water sewer balance all the way back to 2003. So the first 6-7 lines are dedicated a lot to that. It identifies the balance first and foremost. In 17 is 2,849, 263, and then in 18 2,702, 329, and those are negative numbers. So we've actually improved $146,933 over that last 12 months on that comparison. The deposits in 17 was 195,747. This year they were 190,101, so we're about $5,600 less in deposits for that time frame. The expenses in 17 was 128,886. In 18 they're 157,484, so we're about 36,000 more in the expenses. This year, your balance in 17 was 2,774,402. This year it's 2,669,713. So it's $104,000 less. And we get down to your total loss, which includes what they're tracking as a loan write-off in 03, or a loan in 03 and a write-off in 09. We had $8,356,704 in 17, and in 18 we have $8,252,000. So again, we're at that $104,689. The last couple of lines are specific to county taxes. The first one is uncollected county taxes under 17 from 1997 until 2016. It's $13,155,106. The same comparison for 98 through 2017 is $13,024,162. That's a drop of $130,943. PPTRA, again, tracked over those same time frames, get you down on uncollected for October of 2017.
Could I ask you, what is PPTRA?
Personal Property Tax Relief Act.
Okay.
So it helps to offset that balance out there.
But we still have over $4 million that are uncollected in taxes, right?
For that October, yes.
And then as of this year, there's still $4 million.
Uncollected October
So
2018.
what courses do we take to collect this back? That's a lot of money.
It is a whole lot of money. The treasurer is currently active in pursuing those through TACS, which is a court ruling. It's basically a sale. They do that. They have.
These acronyms, T.
Yeah, and I wish I could
Okay.
properly identify that one, but I can tell you they're a a firm that represents localities that go after delinquent properties, and they actually have specific times and dates throughout the year that they actually conduct sales of those properties due to that
And
delinquency.
so what period of time is allowed for a person to be delinquent without it going into that process?
That's something that I would not speak for the treasurer for. Those are, if you would like, I can certainly ask him to come to your next meeting and identify some of these
I
questions.
think it's such a large amount of money that I feel like it would be helpful.
Am I correct that these amounts are left to be collected on a due date of December 5th for the 2018 year, correct?
That's my understanding.
I think the number is to be collected within that given year, right? The 2017 number and the 2018 number.
I thought it was over a period of time that these had accrued.
The 13 million is from 97 to 2016.
Yeah, to 2016.
But the number, the 4,128,996.99 would have been as of this date last year with the December 5th due date for personal property tax, correct?
But I still think it'd be helpful because I think we do have a lot of money that's out there that's not collected.
And you're right, it's
Yeah.
personal and real estate. These
Yeah.
are combinations. So I would be happy to have the treasurer come to your next meeting and identify not only where he sits at that point in time, but also to help identify some of those abilities that he has to reclaim some of those uncollected.
Or I don't mind to meet with him personally if the rest of the board doesn't have a question about it. To me, that's a lot of money.
Maybe, if I might suggest, I don't think you or Curtis was here when we actually, a year ago, that caught my eye too. So
Uh-huh.
actually, a year ago, he stood here one night for a length
Oh,
and gave reasons why.
uh-huh.
And after he gives them, it's pretty easy to understand, but.
So maybe I can meet with him just in the.
Well, it would be a good presentation just to have him come. He's available to do that. That's, maybe would explain a whole lot of stuff, even things you don't know, questions to ask for, so.
Yeah, whatever.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just make that request and see if we can work him into the December meeting.
That'd be great.
When it's all said and done, the requests that are before you today for your appropriations, there is adequate funding through revenue within your ability, so these requests can be considered and we'll move forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carter. I'm going to open citizens' time. Rita Copenhagen. If you would come state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Rita Peckenhaber, and I live at 109 Fairway Drive in Marion, Virginia.
Thank you.
I'm here to share exciting news with you. Voices from the Garden, the Virginia Women's Monument is the nation's first celebration of the remarkable women who made significant but often unrecognized contributions to the Commonwealth over the 400-year history of Virginia. Tribute is also paid to Virginia's geographic and racial diversity through this monument on Capitol Square, the park that surrounds the state capitol building in Richmond, Virginia. An October 30th, 2018 news release from the Virginia Capitol Foundation in Richmond announced that the Granite Plaza Foundation, curved tiered benches, and wall for Voices from the Garden, the Virginia Women's Monument, is completed, and the names of the first 230 women chosen for the surrounding Wall of Honor are inscribed on installed glass panels. This memorial plaza also provides the setting for the 12 bronze full-size statues of Virginia women in history. And the dedication for the completed monument is set for October 2019. How does this very positive news directly connect to Smyth County? 3 women from here have been chosen as honorees. Laura Lucier Copenhaver is one of 12 women in Virginia history to be honored with a full-size bronze statue. Eleanor Gladys Copenhaver Anderson, Laura's daughter and Sherwood Anderson's wife, and Annabelle Morris Buchanan are on the glass wall of honor. A 4th woman from Smyth County, Catherine Kellinger Scher, who is Laura Lou's mother, has also been nominated for the Wall of Honor. These amazing women lived in Smyth County, and their legacy continues to serve our local residents, our region, our Commonwealth, the United States, and our world. Long-lasting ironclad ties with our Smyth County honorees, and this monument provides exciting educational, historical, cultural, and financial opportunities and networks for Smyth County. Our library system, schools, museums, tourism, and other areas yet to be explored. The Southwest Virginia Heritage Library, in memory of pioneer settlers Frederick and Eve Philippi Copenhaver. The Copenhaver Meeting Room, in memory of Preston S. Copenhaver, 1933 to 1983. And a collection of Annabelle Morris Buchanan music, donated by Max Sturgill. In the Marion Library are obvious physical, ongoing legacies directly connected to women in the Garden Smyth County honorees. Other connections are ongoing at the Holston River Heritage Center, Round Hill Cemetery, the Conner Rock School, and the Virginia Department of Transportation historical marker about Laura Copenhaver in front of Ebenezer Lutheran Church in Marion, just to mention a few. This wonderful news is shared with you and is a cause for celebration, a great hope for the future, and a wonderful call to action to preserve and promote our Smyth County local resources, directly and indirectly connected to these remarkable women from Smyth County who are being recognized and honored. And I have information packets, if I may
Sure.
hand them out. The first part of the packet is about the museum. The monument. The second part is information about the women.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very cool.
You have this. The only thing you don't have is a contribution form, and I would be happy to give you that. I'm sorry. You're welcome. If you have questions or you need any other information, please don't hesitate to contact me. Also, there's information in this for you from the Virginia Women's Monument Commission.
Thank you very much. I didn't know that was there, and that I'm anxious to see. Thank you for that. That's nice.
Thank you for the time.
Very good. Jane Wilston. Yes, ma'am.
1152-54 Valley Road. And my comments, I might be out of line here because concerning the library board in support of,
It's citizens' time. That's,
okay. Well, I just want to voice my support for reinstatement of that I feel like the districts, all 7 districts, should be represented on that board. As I've come to understand, in our area, in the Ridge Valley North Fork area, there was no representation. And so long as I feel like each district has a willing volunteer to serve, that it should be equitable representation.
Thank you. Rob Farmer?
Rob Farmer, 2221 Highway 16, Marion, Virginia. Here speaking on behalf of the Smyth County Public Library. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone, our public, and this board for all the support you give to the library every month. And over this past month, we had literally thousands of participants in our programming, both ones that we put on ourselves and then ones we did in conjunction with the different local organizations and communities. For this next coming month, we have also several things to work on. We'll be participating in the Christmas parades for Marion, Chilhowie, and Saltville. Saltville comes at the same time Sugar Road, we'll be in that too. We are adding 3 different new databases to help support business in both trade and education in the community. One is the Small Business Resource Center to help support small businesses that are already in existence and other ones that want to form. One is the Educational and Testing Resource Center, which will have testing resources to support test preparation for both for pre-college, college, and also skill training. And we're adding the retro package of the Chilton automobile manuals that go back into the 40s. So we're trying to reach as many different people as we can with that. Some of the special programming we have for the rest of the month in Saltville, on Thursday, tomorrow night, and in 2 weeks, skipping Thanksgiving, they are supporting National Novel Writing Month, providing a place for people who work on their novels to come and sit and have a good place to do that. In Chilhowie, on this Saturday at 6 p.m., they will be showing the classic film Wizard of Oz. And on next Saturday night, at the Marion location, we'll be showing the movie Quick Be Down Under, a Western in honor of Movember for people to grow facial hair and in support of men's health issues. So we'd like to see everyone at those, and we'd like to see everyone step into our library anytime, anything we can do. We'll glad to help you.
Thank you very much. Kathy Smith?
Kathy Smith, 149 Prescott Drive, Chilhowie. Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of the library board. I'm in support of a 7-member governing board for the Smyth County Public Library. All 7 districts are represented on the Board of Supervisors, and all 7 districts should be represented on the governing library board. It's in the citizens' best interest to have a representative from their district. I hope that a motion will be made this evening to have a 7-member board following your discussion on the appointees, specific appointees. So I hope you do make that decision and move forward and look to the future. It could be possibly 7-member board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Marvin Leslie?
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Marvin Leslie, 184 Keller Lane, Marion. My purpose in addressing you this time is to urge your attention and positive action in regard to citizen concerns for the reestablishment of a truly representative Library Board of Trustees. As you well know, some of our constituents currently enjoy no representation on the Smyth County Library Board of Trustees as presently constituted and as it is envisioned in Virginia Code 42.1-36. The Virginia Code calls for a local government trusteeship to be made up of duly appointed volunteer citizens. your supervisor representative on the current diminished Board of Trustees has correctly recognized the code's intent by his statement March 16, 2017, in which he communicated to Ms. Kim Armentrout, Public Library Consultant with the Library of Virginia, his position regarding the composition of membership on the Board of Trustees. His comment at that time, and I quote, by July 1, 2017, there will not be any Board of Supervisors members serving on the Smyth County the Library Board of Trustees. As concerned citizens, we're presenting you with the following petition to help you understand just how passionate we are about this issue. This can has been kicked down the road far too long. The concerned citizens of Smyth County do hereby request the Smyth County Board of Supervisors reinstate a 7-member Board of Trustees for the governance of Smyth County Public Library. We request that the Board of Trustees be comprised of one appointed representative from each of the Smyth County administrative magisterial districts of Smyth County. That doesn't include a member of the Smyth County Board of Supervisors. We request that the Smyth County Board of Supervisors immediately appoint and establish this Board of Trustees in compliance with the intent of Virginia Library Code Section 421-36 and referenced in the March 16, 2017 email from Rick Blevins to Kim Armentrout. We respectfully request this. Signed, Smyth County Concerned Citizens for Library Governance. And gentlemen and lady, I would like to approach the dais to present this petition,
Sure.
if I may. And I appreciate your attention and your service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bradley Powers.
I'm sorry, but I'm Bradley Powers. I live at 1245 South Main, and I'm sorry my allergies have taken over since we have had the weather change that we had. I just wanted to take time because over the past few months, there's been a lot of negativity directed toward the Board of Supervisors, toward each of you all, and I just wanted to stand up and say thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for what you have done. Because if you look at our economic growth, over the past few months, we've announced hundreds of jobs coming to the county. We've announced hundreds of incentives. Mr. Carter, you're doing a great job with the economic development side. Thank you for what you're doing. And that goes for all the county employees as well. Just thank you for what you're doing. And I hear a lot of positives from the library as well, so Mr. Palmer, thank you. I think the library is doing a great job with what they're doing, not taking anything away from the 7-member board. I think that would be a wonderful idea, but I feel like the library is operating more fiscally responsible and no services have been taken away from my understanding. So that's a positive, and I feel we need to focus on the positives and say thank you for the job that you are doing. Of course, there is always room for improvement with anything that we do, but I just wanted to stand up and say thank you. You're all doing a wonderful job, each and every one of you. And let's move forward with positivity and help each other grow instead of trying to separate each other apart. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I ain't letting that slide. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wish everybody thought like you did, because the positive is what makes it. The people who are sitting here sure ain't sitting here for the money. They're sitting here to try to make this county a better place. And the only payback I get is when somebody like you stands up. It's all about working for what makes you good. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you all.
That's all that was signed up to speak. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak? Then I'll close citizens' time. Mr. Conrad Hill? You're up next.
They have a copy, but I'll be glad to get it to you.
That's fine.
My desk is full, so the one we got will work for me.
We do have one action before the board tonight. We have, been a request from a citizen to look at, the concern that we weren't maintaining the roadways, on Hollow Road. And once we got to looking into that situation, it was listed on the maps, county maps, as Route 768 in error. We worked with Mr. Street to clear that up. And in doing that, we found that Route 768 is actually Old 11 Highway. Excuse me. And we had on our list 0.06 miles of roadway. And the road was actually built to a half a mile in the 1990s. We never did have the paperwork to put that officially into our system. We maintained it, and then the road's in fine shape. We've got an action for the board trying to get the paperwork to officially make sure all of Oldham Route 11 is in the state secondary system.
Mr. Chairman, that's the resolution you're talking about, is that correct, Mr.?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Chairman, that resolution is found on page 22.
Yes.
If you would like.
You know it.
Yeah. I'll be happy to read it for the record. The Board of Supervisors of Smyth County in a regular meeting on the day of 2018 adopted the following. Resolution for the addition of a portion of Old 11 Road into the secondary system of state highways. Whereas the Abingdon Residency Office of the Virginia Department of Transportation recommends that the street referenced in the board resolution be added to the secondary system of state highways as a no-cost rural addition pursuant to Section 33.2-705 of the Commonwealth Transportation Board policy. Because the street meets current minimum standards, the condition of the existing hard surface is serviceable. The street has provided continuous public service since its establishment in 1846 as part of the Southwest Virginia Turnpike, and currently serves no less than 10 occupied residential dwellings. And whereas the Abingdon Residency Office of the Virginia Department of Transportation confirms that no department funds are required to improve the street described on the attached addition sketch and Form AM-4.3 to meet current minimum design or maintenance standards of the department. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the board requests the Virginia Department of Transportation to add the street described on the attached sketch and Form AM-4.3 to the secondary system of state highways pursuant to Section 33.2-705 Code of Virginia and the Rural Addition Policy of the Commonwealth Transportation Board of the Virginia Department of Transportation. And be it further resolved, this board guarantees a clear and unrestricted right-of-way as described on the attached Form AM-4.3 and any necessary easements for cut fields and drainage. And be it finally resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded to the resident engineer of the Virginia Department of Transportation.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. The other thing I wanted to bring before you, I understand you have a copy of it, to the paper list, is being the end of our construction season for the year. I just brought you an update of the projects that we completed this summer. It'll be the first stage, 3 Rural Rustic, small bridge, and then paving and storage treatment. Projects that are underway, the Mulberry Lane bridges on I-81, which started just recently. The 54 bridges are under procurement right now. Those are going to be done as a design and build, and we may even see some construction on that at the end of next year, if not early in 2020. Then anticipated projects for 2019, we have 3 more rural rustic roads to build, which is just surfacing the roads, stabilized roads in place. And also have two sheets of the paving and latex treatment that we had to defer this year to be done next year. Those routes are on the back two sheets. And beyond that, I'll hear the pleasure of the board.
Yes, sir.
I have a question on the first page. You got the routes that had portions repaved by contract. Flowing Spring Road up in Atkins District. Why did we not do the first part of the road from the railroad up through there? You came in and redid some ditches like you were going to do it, and then you...
Yeah, these things, they're done in advance. I think part of that may be, what we have to do is just look at the section. It's done a lot in sections just because of finances and what money we have. We have a certain amount for each county each year, and we try to hit the ones volume, condition, and try to do just get as many done as we can of the worst pieces of roads sometimes, not the entire route.
Okay. One final question. The most surveyed bridge in Southwest Virginia, the one over the interstate where it goes over Highway 11 in Atkins. What's the plans for that? I'm being asked that all the time. What's our plans for up there?
That's one to 54?
Yes. No, about mile marker 52, something like that.
Across from Railroad.
Yeah, across. Yeah.
I said 54, but that's the bridge I was speaking about. They're going to design build next year. We'll have a company. We're going to ask for proposals from companies to do the design and the construction. That does speed the process up some for us, and that's about a $30 million project.
Don't let it be taken over my Brown subdivision. Mr. Chairman, if I could you please update me on that or update the public? I get calls pretty regular on that, where we're at.
We do our next round of, I'm sure you may have heard the term, state of good repair. And that is heavy bridge reconstruction and pavement reconstruction. We do those funding every 2 years. 19 is the next spring they will do the next round of funding. That bridge is high on the list. It's all competitive statewide, but that bridge is high on the list. They're hopeful, and I won't make a promise, but they're hopeful it will be funded in the next one. Even at that, it would still be in fiscal year 25 or 26 before the actual construction.
So the very earliest they can have any hope out there is 2025, 2026.
That's correct.
But you are hoping for funding next fiscal year.
They're very optimistic that it will be funded in the next round. Of course, I can't make that promise, but they are very optimistic.
What about, and maybe you may have to bring me back in line here, Scott, Mike, the roundabout hope we have for 2022, where is that? Are you aware of any of that, or am I asking?
That's smart scale. Those haven't been awarded yet.
Oh, okay.
Those you'll probably hear something about February, whether those are successful or not right there at Mountain Bridge.
Yeah.
Actually, I think there's one on either end of it.
Yeah, I think both sides is what I seen, which, the heavy traffic they get there. I'm really impressed with a lot of those roundabouts when you get into heavy traffic.
I would love to see some roundabouts in this area for two purposes. One, they work really, really well. And two, once people see them and see that they work and get used to them, I think that will be a big choice for a lot of intersections.
I tend to agree, and I think it's the solution to a problem right there instead of a stoplight. So.
Oh, absolutely. And for me and Mike and Scott, that's another pot of money, the smart scale money is for capacity reconstruction or reconstruction. And they've been very successful in their applications.
One more question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I'm done. The turn lane there at Copenhagen Crossing.
Yeah, that's right there, just outside Marion. You'll say a name, and I'll not know what you're talking about. This the railroad.
The railroad
just back this
crossing.
side of me.
The one that was, where is,
That's the last one on your list there.
It is in expect a public hearing on that next year sometime, and with construction probably in 2020 or early 21.
I got some mixed reviews from the people in that area. They was hoping for the bridge instead of
I
the
understand,
money.
there's actually two different pots of money.
That's what I've tried to explain, that one couldn't be transferred to the other.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
You all come at Upper Poor Valley Road, old Route 633. It's right above the McCready Methodist Church. Pipe caved in there, and you all come in there and put two pipe in, done a great job. Everything's fine. But when it washed that pipe out the first time, it exposed these two rocks sticking about a foot out in the road, right in that curve. And probably a front loader and one dip would probably get them out of there and just lay them right across the road in the creek. But the school bus comes through there, they have to stop if there's a car there because they get too close to those rocks sticking out in the road there. It's on the third bridge up. There's three little bridges right there close, and this is the third one y'all just redone. But you've done a great job on it, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of things. I just received this a couple of days ago, and I haven't made the trip up to see it myself, but Citizen, my understanding is there's been a couple of accidents of large trucks on White Top Road in the last couple of months. And a Citizen was concerned as the placement of the steep grade signage being after you start that descent versus prior to. And I can't verify that that's true or not, but I did receive a citizen complaint that the signage is below after after a trucker's already started that descent and the brakes are already hot. And the second thing is on White Top Road, back this side of Green Hill Market down to Packing House Road, I've gotten 2 complaints of overgrowth in that ditch. It's a rather significant ditch line, but people concerned of overgrowth in there that's backing up some water, and I'm not sure whether it's within the right of way or not, but I thought I would at least call attention to it. And it would be, if you're going towards the overlook, it would be on the right side of the road going to Green Hill Market from Packing House Road, that stretch of ditch line through there.
Mr. Blow?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hill, I'd like to thank you for all the work that you do. Whenever I've brought an issue to you from my district, I think y'all do a great job of taking a look at it and making corrections when needed. But the most important question for tonight is, are we going to get the ice tonight?
We've got everybody out. We think there may be some ice, especially up here in Smyth County, but we do have full crews out to be there if there's ice.
Do I need to adjourn, or what's the...
I think we got to go about 2 more.
Okay.
I do want to thank you. You do a real good job since you took over down there about looking into complaints and doing stuff, and it's appreciated in my area.
Sir, we do our best, and we've got a great bunch of folks working for us.
The paving job they done on Valley Road up 216, they've done a real good job. So, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Hill, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You never know what you're going to get, but I appreciate you standing there being vulnerable, but thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Nate Clark from Hunger Mother State Park.
Good evening.
Come on and get front and center.
Vulnerable now, right?
Your turn.
I do have a permission handout, if I may.
Sure.
Several packets.
Sir. Thanks, sir.
Sir.
Sir. Thanks,
Sir. I appreciate y'all having me tonight, and appreciate Mr. Carter and Mr. Simpson getting me on the agenda. For those of y'all that don't know me, my name's Nate Clark. I'm the manager at Hunger Mother State Park. I've been here about 4 years or so, about 4.5 actually. And just thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to come down and share a little bit of information about the park and what we've got going on and some updates. And of course,
course, be happy to answer any questions also. The information that I gave you, there's several things in here. The first couple are agency produced, and I just want to kind of pass these on just to let you all know as an agency what we're doing right now. The small one, Division 2026, we as a department of Virginia State Parks, of course, we're constantly, we put together budget packages and go in front of the General Assembly every year, our Richmond staff does. And Division 2026 is basically where we'd like to see ourselves in 8 years. So it includes, a lot of additional operating funds for park operations, equipment, new facilities, full-time positions, deferred maintenance, capital improvements, and a lot of other things on there. And then on the back of that's got some immediate needs. We're a state agency. We'd love to have more money to be able to take care of the facilities and things that we're entrusted with. So this is one of the ways that we're trying to get to where we want to be.
To ask you a question, this is all Virginia related?
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay.
Yes. And this is across the Commonwealth. This is not just under Mother.
Right. I thought, okay.
Although we would certainly see some benefit from some of the numbers around here. But yes, sir, this is Virginia State.
Any questions? Do you have it broke down to economical impact as far as Hunger Mud Park?
I do. I'll get there in just a few minutes.
All right, I'm sorry.
The second one, the Virginia State Parks by the numbers, this again is another piece of information that our department put together. This is across the entire Commonwealth. This is a really good document because we, and I include myself in this, we get tunnel vision in our own park, in our own location where we work. And this is really nice to be able to show all the different things that the state has to offer across the Commonwealth, the campgrounds and picnic areas and gift shops, and even all the way down to 15,000 scoops of ice cream sold across here. So it kind of gives a pretty cool big picture across the state. The one number that I would draw your attention to on the bottom of here is $13.08 to $1. And this does relate to economic impact. So for every $1 of state tax funds that are spent on Virginia State Parks, we have a $13 return based on economic impact and interest support and visitor activity across the Commonwealth. So 13 to 1, I'm not an economist, or I think most people say 13 to 1 is pretty good return. So again, these are two just kind of statewide pieces of information that I wanted to share with you all. The next couple, this is some information, some more in-depth information about the park itself that I put together, and I'm not going to go through this page to page. I'll let y'all take a look at it at your leisure. But all the different activities and programs and facilities and the things that we manage and what we have going on in the parks as far as interpretive and educational programs and volunteer support. I just kind of broke down a little bit more in there. Everyone on this board is intimately familiar with the park, I know, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to some of the behind the scenes, some of the things that you may not see on a regular basis or hear about. So hopefully there's some good information in there that you'll find useful. And then the last document, the bigger document, is Virginia State Parks Economic Impact Report for 2017. And again, this is something that you can go through as you have time to look through the entire report. This is statewide across the entire Commonwealth, but it's broken down by districts for the parks and then by the individual parks also. And this report was presented, or was put together by Dr. Vincent McGee, who works with the Virginia Tech's Pamphlet School of Business. And if anybody recognizes the name, but Dr. McGee is very well known in the hospitality field. And we did not put his name on a document, on a report. It was not vetted information and very thoroughly researched. And he goes into a lot of the, he does a real good job explaining where the information comes from and how it's all put together. The economic impact for us, for Hunger Mother, we're one of the largest parks in the state as far as facilities and overnight and programs and what we've got going on. Basically, it's just a big park. And so our estimated economic impact for 2017 is $7.5 million. That's economic impact to the community, and that, of course, is based off of attendance numbers. And our attendance for last year was 260,228. That's our annual attendance, and we've got traffic counters and a couple of studies, so it's an estimated attendance, of course, but it's a pretty accurate number. Our overnight attendance for last year was 72,754, and that is cabins and campgrounds. That is folks largely from outside the region, outside the community, who are coming into the park and spending 1 or multiple nights. And as you all know, we like to think of ourselves as kind of a gateway. There's so many things to do in the area, outdoor recreation, community, local businesses, and restaurants, that folks will stay at the park and then they go out to the community and they go shopping, they buy gas, and they do all those other things. So that's where those economic impact numbers come from. So it's pretty significant when you start to think and start to do a little research and dig into it and document into it. So again, I hope that's something that you can find interesting and have a chance to look through. A couple quick updates of some stuff that's going on. We're at the end of our summer in our operating season right now. Of course, we stay busy. We just kind of shift gears. We don't have as many people in the park. The beach is closed and everything else. But we just kind of spend these few months fixing things that broke over the course of the summer and cleaning off your desk and getting all the reports and everything done that we couldn't. So we stay very busy, but we've got a couple big things that we're in the process of working on. One is the bridge, the amphitheater bridge on the lake that leads over the amphitheater island, everyone is very familiar with. We have General Assembly funding out of, I believe it was 2 sessions ago, for replacement of that bridge. It was a capital outlay project that we got allocated about $1 million to replace that bridge. The current bridge was built in the 70s, early to mid-70s, I think, by park staff, and they did a fabulous job. It's lasted 40-some years. So they did a really good job with it, but it's like anything else at the time it needs to be replaced. So we've got a rather large chunk of money, and this is again General Assembly money. It's not dedicated park money. We're not actually spending any of our own operating budget. But we're looking forward to that. It's going through our design and construction group up in Richmond right now, and working all the details after that. That'll be probably this time next year. We're going to wait till after the fall season. We always stay real busy in October with the colors and the leaf changes, so we're going to target this time next year for that. We've got our 3 yurts are up and running in the park, and I'm sure some of y'all have seen those in the campgrounds. Those have been pretty popular, and that again was General Assembly money from a couple times ago. So those are doing real well. One other really exciting thing that we're working on right now, we have a new facility that we're building over on the boat ramp area over off Mitchell Valley. It's part of the Red Fox Discovery area. It's a playground, but it's an outdoor playground. So it's a playground built out of natural environmental type structures, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be great for field trips, and it'll be really neat for kids. This was a grant that we actually got from the Garden Club of Virginia. We got a $10,000 grant to build this. So again, not coming from our dedicated operation funding. And then our volunteer support group, the Friends of Hunter Motor State Park, are actually administering this grant for us. So a real good partnership with the Friends group. So we're looking forward to that. We're hoping to have that open here in the next few months. And just like I said, it's been a busy summer. The rain hurt us a little bit. It's been kind of a rainy summer, but overall it's a really good summer. Like I said, 260,000 was our attendance, as well as overnight guests. One of the really numbers that I'm impressed with, and I'd like to brag at, if you'll allow me that just for a second, we did over 600 programs, educational programs last year, interpretive and educational programs, and that includes school outreach, junior rangers, canoe trips on the lake, that kind of thing. All the ranger programs in the parks. We did over 600 of those to over 17,000 participants. So that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids' smiles that we get to see throughout the course of the year. That's one of the very rewarding parts of the job that we're pretty proud of. So, be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have questions?
Mr. Chairman. I just want to say thank you. You're I'm reminded of this. We just got back from a VACO conference, and I'm reminded of this every time I travel outside of Southwest Virginia. You guys are the draw for Smyth County, hands down. No matter where you talk to somebody, if they're from the state of Virginia, they come to Hungry Mountain State Park. And as a county, I think we're tasked with, you mentioned the restaurants and stuff of that nature. We're tasked with getting them to spend more dollars here. you know, your campgrounds are only so big, and when you're full, and we need beds, and we need places that can increase your turns and your visits, and I think that's something that we need to really move forward on. And the kid programs, if there's anything that you see that as a board or that we can put you in direction with to expand upon those, that's awesome that you're getting that many kids, and if there's anything that we can do to help, we'd love to do it.
Thank you, I appreciate you saying so. We've had a good relationship with Mr. Carter and Mr. Simpson. We've worked on several projects over the years, and I appreciate everything the board does and all the support that you do to the park. We're one of the original parks that was open in the state. Remo's been there 8 years. I've only been there before, but Remo's been there 8 years. So it's a very cool, rewarding job. We've got a lot trusted to us and a lot to work responsible for, and it's I've got a good office. So
Keep Ryan busy this winter.
don't worry about that at all. Thank you all very much.
Yep. I just want to thank you too before you go. Y'all do a good job out there. I'm like Curtis, the park is very important to Smyth County. And I think Mr. Carter's an old park boy back when he had his young boots on. He can't hardly make it now, but in his younger days, that's where he cut his teeth. So
well, we're keeping this on.
I think the park is very important. I think his figures show that. So I think the hiking out there is a big thing now.
Keep it up with the children. Get them away from them cell phones. They need to get out in nature more.
I've got two myself that I'm struggling with right now.
I know how you feel. I got grandkids, won't go anywhere. They don't look up in the back seat of the car. I take them away from them. I said, now you look around a little bit. I'm not very popular. I do that.
Yeah. Mr. Carter?
No, you've been very complimentary of the board, and certainly appreciate that, but let me take an opportunity to compliment you and your staff, because what didn't get told tonight was a lot of times when we have economic development prospects or tours that come in, one of my first calls is to Nate, because we want to capitalize on that part. And, you know, the impressiveness of that to these visitors to our county is you can't measure it. So, you know, Nate, he goes above and beyond. He actually served as a tour guide. If you've ever saw one of the cliche movies on TV, you got this bus and you got it full of people, and you got a guy standing up holding on while the driver may or may not be making the right turns, and he is actually going through the target, on the right and on the left and on the right and on the left. So very, very good, very impressed. Just a good partnership between us. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and then the opportunity just to come forward and bring that. These are numbers that I'm sure a lot of us don't, well, some numbers I didn't know too. I mean, that's impressive numbers, but hit on those positives maybe. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Michelle Ward? Update on the progress of the Smyth County Recovery Court.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. I just wanted to give you like a brief update on what's going on with our recovery court. So we started taking our first participants January the 18th of this year. She is now day 2 employed, doing everything she's supposed to be doing and moving on. And so one of the things I wanted to kind of tell you about is a little bit how they get into the program and what the phases are, so you can know a little bit about it. We look for nonviolent offenders that are charged with a crime, and a lot of times it's possession or probation violations, and things like that, that have a drug problem. And so one of the things that we do is we try to make sure that we screen really well to make sure that they're actually wanting to change their behavior. So we go and we do a grant assessment, which is required by the state. It's a risk and a risk and needs assessment, and it makes sure that they are high risk, high needs for this type of treatment. Then we check with mental health to see if they've got mental health issues, and also a substance use diagnosis. And that is all what we have to have even for them to get into the program. So it's kind of just intense just to get into the program. A lot of people don't make it just for their crimes or different things like that. With all of that said, what we do is get them in this phase. Once they get appointed into the program by circuit court, there is a team that is made up of the circuit court judge, the Commonwealth attorney, the sheriff's office has a representative, Mount Rogers Community Service Board, there's a defense attorney on there, and probation, and then, of course, our program staff. And each week, we sit down and we decide on each individual what kind of services they need, and we look at them individually to see where they are and if they need more treatment than they're getting. The average person in this, that gets in the program in phase 1 is doing 15 hours a week counseling. It's intensive outpatient counseling, and it is nothing but substance abuse. With that, what they've learned is how to deal with these triggers, these cravings, and how to be successful in life without the drugs. And so, in with these participants we have right now, we have 12 participants, and there are 23 children involved with these 12 participants. So that shows you that if we're doing something with them, we're also helping those children too. And we recognize that. So we decided that we were going to change a few things. We have now implemented where we have time where we're doing family engagement. We actually get them together and we try to show them family activities to do with their children that are cost effective because they don't have a lot of money, but to teach them to be good parents, to get them off the phones, to engage in them, to go walk, to do things in nature and things like that. With all of that, they have a lot of restrictions. And so this is very, very intensive supervision. It's more than probation. I know a lot of people that are like, oh, they're on probation. Well, give you a daily schedule for one person. They have on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 12 counseling. And that is with one counselor in one room the whole entire time. In addition to that, that afternoon they come back on Monday and do 3 to 5, and there's a training just to go back and look at their life and the decisions they've made and how they can change them and make it differently. On Tuesdays, they have a life skills group, so they have to learn how to cook, how to clean, how to budget, how to apply for jobs, how to go back to school, and things like that. And on top of that, they have 2 community support groups they do each week, which could be AA, NA, it could be anything to do in a community like RU or Celebrate Recovery. So they do those types of activities every day, and they do 5 hours of community service every week. All these things have to be done and then turned in to the court. And this team sits down to make sure every week that they're done. And then if not, then there's consequences for those, which may be to get more time, like community service hours or more meetings or things like that. All that happens in phase 1, and then as they go on through the program, we try to start looking at their housing needs, their educational needs, and give them goals. And so we start doing job training, or if they need to go back to school and things like that, we start looking at those pieces. The point of the program is to make sure that they become successful at the end of the program and sober, and then back into their family life. As they get to phase 3 and 4, the services decrease because you're wanting them to become more back into the community. And it's kind of a trade-off. You do it slowly so that they don't just get dumped out in the end and say, okay, you have a job, you're done. You kind of watch to make sure that they're successful. And so the last phase is we're actually watching them and monitoring them while they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Some of the things that we are specifically trying to do is I'm finding that if people, when they have to do community service hours, if you can find a niche for them and something that they love, then what happens is they become really involved in that. For example, one of our participants started out playing guitar. And he came in and he just played a little bit and he picked here and there, and I was like, you really good. You know, have you thought about doing this? I'm not taking lessons. I thought they let him play in the courtroom when he got promoted to phase 2. And since that time, he has been driven. And that's what he does. He does it for groups. He does it at church now. He has got to do everywhere he's got a chance to play. Even when we don't need him to, he's playing. It's become his new addiction. And so for him, he's now trying to find employment playing on weekends in a church band. So with those things, we're trying to find things that they actually like so that we can kind of drive them that way. We have another lady that she's really wanting to go back to school for cosmetology. And she hadn't graduated high school. So one of the things we've been doing is working with her to get her GED and also to get her cosmetology license. So trying to get them to feel better about themselves too, because what we find is a lot of them have a lot of trauma in their life, and we have to go back and deal with that trauma that happened in their life through counseling and things like that to help them better themselves as well. I do have some statistics because I know that, you know, when money is an issue, it's something that's always good to know. But on just these 12 participants this year, they would have been incarcerated, and the cost to incarcerate just these 12 would have been $144,540. If with this grant, we're supposed to go up to 25 in January. We'll start increasing our numbers. We'll continue to improve. That amount will be 301 and 125. That's what it is. So that kind of lets you know just the cost effectiveness of having them in the community and getting jobs and kids out of foster care and the cost savings, the rest of it. The other piece is they have to do 5 hours of community service, and they're going to do it because they get in trouble each week. And so one of the things that I found is everywhere that we have assigned them, they get that 5 in, but a lot of them do more. They're doing food pantry boxes. And one of the churches called me and just said, hey, can you send all of them up here? Well, a lot of them had already had their 5 hours, and they all wanted to do it. And then they wanted to give them out. So one of the things I find is if they feel good about themselves and they feel like they're helping and giving back is what they told me, then they want to do more. So we find that even with those 12, in just this year alone, they have given back $15,063 in free community service to the public. And we looked to see what it would be with 25. So I just wanted to let you know where we are and where we're headed. One of the bigger things is we are going to go up to 25 participants. The grant requested at 15 the first year, and that'll be January the 18th. And we have 12 as of today. Tomorrow we have 13. We'll get a new one in tomorrow, and we have 2 on the list. So we'll have 15 probably by December. We're right on target.
I don't want to say great because it's not great, but the service is so needed, and I think incarceration is not always the answer. And I think that was the hope, is that your participants, do they come to you? Is that how that originates, or is that a judgment call in courts?
Sometimes in circuit court, when they're in there, the attorneys originally with their clients decide who can go in or not. And that's one of the things we're working on now is more education with the defense attorneys, because they have to look at their clients and decide. But also probation can look at it and say, hey, look, this is a really good one. And I've had a few probation officers call and they'll say, the only problem this person has is they can't quit using it.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good person, they do everything they're supposed to do, but they cannot quit using. They come to me and do a referral, and once we do the referral and we do all the background stuff and they're in, we start having, literally, I've seen them 4 or 5 times a week. Everybody picks their phone and says, hey, have you seen such and such a new student today? And I can almost always say, if I don't see them now, I'll see them within 24 hours. We do unannounced visits, just so you know, the background piece of it, we do unannounced visits, we go to homes. They sign a waiver, so we do checks on the houses, to make sure that they're really doing what they need to be doing, because the problem is you want to make sure that they really want sobriety and that they're really in the program. And so they have curfews, they have to come at certain times and that type of thing. But so far, everybody seems, it's amazing to watch. I know this is going to sound awful, but they gain weight and they start looking healthy, and then all of a sudden you start seeing it in their body because they're dressing better and they start feeling good about themselves. And the program is a national program. This isn't something we created here, so we can't take credit for that. The national program is all about giving them that positive feedback, because a lot of times, and I can tell you 10 stories right now that make me cry sometimes when they're telling me them, things that they went through. From hiding in the beds, because it's a safe place, to everything else. So some of these were the children we tried to save when they were little. And then they used substances to get past all those memories. So we're trying to deal with all those underlying issues too.
It's a very vicious cycle, I agree, and I'm not going to speak for Mr. Stevenson, but I know we had some discussion on dependencies once other, and I think your comment was people need to be responsible for themselves, and I think if they are willing to step up to a program like it and want to participate, I think it's got to be a starting block, is that you get somebody wanting to. So you can't always force the fix, I guess, so to speak.
Are you calling me out?
No, I'm just sharing, bro. I'm just getting at the point of people that want to do that, and that's the gist of it all. You've got to have somebody wanting to, but I'm glad that there's an opportunity to make that happen. So.
They have a court hearing every week, and they tell us that they're thankful because they have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But I think it's structure. To be honest with you, I think it's all about structure. And we're preparing, and somebody was complaining about the schedule when we were feeding it to them. Here you go, here's what you're going to do, and they were like, what? I you work this hard on your sobriety as you did use them, then you're gonna be successful.
Thank you. Anybody?
I commend you guys. We all see the regional jail expenditure. One thing that you hit on, and the adolescent piece of it, you know, once we get this rolling and we've got this implemented, I think that's our next piece to really making a dent in our overall problem, because there's several programs out there in a couple of different localities that are focusing on, you know, being an advocate for adolescents versus just sending them to detention in different places. And I think once this is going, if we can expand on the adolescent piece, I think we're going even a step in the right direction, even more so than we are. But thank you, guys.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. I've been requested if we could take a 10-minute recess. If you guys be patient with us, we'll be right back. Order. Under new business, I've got a reconsideration of the vote to refund to Connerock Community Center from the October 9, 2018 Board of Supervisors meeting on page 25 and 26 of your packet.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Based on the rules of the Board of Supervisors, I hate that I wasn't here at the last meeting. I was at a conference for my full-time job. On this Connerock refund, of course, we'd had the discussion in the Budget Committee on the refund, and this was a unique situation because there were two fees collected that went into one advertisement. And so that's why normally there wouldn't even be a savings when you're having to post the ads in the newspaper and things of that nature. So because of that situation, there was a $62 possibility for a refund, which I know might not sound a lot to a lot of individuals, but to the Connerock Community Center, who works extremely hard to raise every penny that they get, $62 is worth considering. So that was a recommendation. So I requested that we revisit that because it was a 3-3 decision at the last board meeting. But I think it's something that we should do. I think it's something that we should do for our constituents. We always talk about representing the people that elect us into office, and for a group of individuals that do nothing but volunteer and do excellent work for their community. They're deserving of this refund. I know there was some concern about, well, we don't want to open up the door for other requests, and it was a weather issue, and that had nothing to do, and obviously we're not in control of that. But this is a very unique situation because there were two post advertisements put together. So I would like to make a motion that we issue the refund as presented in the original, motion.
I'll second his motion.
Motion and seconds on the table. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to state that I do understand that this group certainly deserves it, but we have denied other requests, so I'd like to keep in mind with this that we consider others equally in the future if we have occasion to.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I'd like to just reiterate that once again, I think we're opening up ourselves for everybody and their brother coming back and wanting a request when they find out that the advertising doesn't cost the full $200. There's other costs involved that we don't put a dollar figure on, getting the advertisement ready, sending it to the paper and doing everything like that. But, and I realize how important that money is to the organization. When we quit giving our Board of Supervisors a little bit of funding we used to give, I know the importance of it. So it's hard for me to vote no, but I'm going to continue to say no on that.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
How many events that we have applications for do we ever have a request for a refund from?
I couldn't answer that. Do you have any ballpark idea?
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
It's a very rare occurrence.
It's not it's correct. It's a rare occurrence.
Thank you.
All right, I have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Open discussion regarding district-specific appointees for the Smyth County Library Board.
You did.
Yeah, the discussion is for the board members. That's what it's on the agenda for.
I'd like to just speak up and say, I think we need to go back to a 7-member volunteer board, that each district be able to appoint 1 member, and that way each district would feel like they have some input as to what's going on with the library. You got 7 members there, 1 or 2 absent, you still have a quorum. I just think we need to go back with representation in the 7-member board.
That's what we're here to do, is discuss and see if we come out with a motion or anything. So, anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, as I've said previously, I feel like we have been disrespectful to the members of this community who have repeatedly come and brought petitions and spoken before us, and I don't think there's any good I'm not aware of any good reason, perhaps other members are, but I don't think it serves the community well or the mission of the library to continue to kick this can down the road. And we seem to do that with different things, and I think the library is too important to continue to do that.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think my district and yours are the two that's not represented, am I correct?
Yes.
I take a little, I don't agree that we disrespected anybody. This library issue, obviously some things that can't be discussed because we're still under litigation, but, other than the lady tonight that is in my district that asked for it, I'm not saying I'm totally against it, but I don't know that I agree with some of the things that's being said that, I've had one person out of my district, which is this lady, which I respected, and that's the only concern I've had. My concern is that the library's doing good now. I think we got a good director. I think all libraries are open, and I don't see somebody here from the library asking for money where we're going to be all the time. As far as the library not being represented in the North Fork district, I don't know that that's totally true. The North Fork district elects a supervisor. That supervisor's job don't end here at this table. It's to oversee the way the county goes as funding and several things such as the library to some extent. The fact that the library has a supervisor on it, I would like to see every committee have a supervisor. I think it's a good thing. I think it's the people's voice. That's who the people elected. I'm not saying that on down the road that I wouldn't go with 7, but I'm saying everything's fine right now. It's still ongoing litigation, and I think the recommendation for me right now was just to let it lay until it's all settled. I think the library's doing good. I hear of all kinds of programs. I think we got a good director. So that's my opinion on it.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Salvo District, of course. Now, he's a representative on our Salvo. A representative can only pull 2 full consecutive terms, then they have to be reappointed. They can always be reappointed in one of the other districts. It ain't that you ain't going to have representation. They are. I looked at a petition that we just looked at. How many people in here are from the Salvo District for the library? what I mean? I have had absolutely no complaints that I have seen. I've seen 2 signatures on that petition from Saltville people. Director, all I hear is people saying, the director's great. Saltville Library is doing better now than it has in its entire history, as far as I know. I don't see any reason to change anything. The only thing, if we change anything, all we're going to do is hurt it right now. The litigation going on, which don't bother me a bit. I could care less where it comes out one way or the other. My decision goes by the people that I represent. And the people that I represent says, great job. Everybody's involved with the library. Not just Mr. Farmer, but everybody, the workers, all the personnel, all the people behind the scenes. They're doing a great job. Let sleeping dogs lie. Right now. Later on, it may be a different issue. But just because you don't have a representative from your district on it, like Phil says, don't mean that we don't care. That's not true. And they can always be changed. After 2 full terms, representative goes off, they can appoint one from another district. That's fine. Everybody has a say in it. But right now, the only thing I could say would do anything if we change it is hurt the library. And I don't want to do that.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I hear this thing about ongoing litigation against the library. I think Mr. Campbell can clarify, there is no litigation against the library, it's against the Board of Supervisors. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Cole, with all respect, have you seen a financial statement for the library recently? I respect Mr. Farmer. I think he's been given a challenge, but I can tell you from the financial standpoint, all is not well. And each branch is going to suffer. So we might turn a blind eye. I do think it's important for each district to have a representative.
2 years ago, all we heard in Saltville was, we're going to close you down because we need more money. More money. Now, the town of Saltville provides the library building. They provide the upkeep of that building. The town does, not the library. Hill Howley's the same way, as far as I know. The Marion's got it pretty good. They're in a county building. Town of Marion don't do that.
Well, Mayor, the town of
We
Marion...
heard money last 2 years. We heard how Saltville was going to be closed down, and now we don't hear that.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, that was propaganda used to serve a certain purpose. We have the mayor from Marion here tonight. You know, when we look at cost savings, it seems like a lot of the cost savings is going to come from the town of Marion, and Mr. Farmer might be able to address some prospects there. But it's like all of a sudden the Marion Library is the one that's not being focused upon. And also the Marion Library is a headquarters library. A lot of things are done there that serves the whole system. So I feel like we're not really giving the full information here. Saltville is getting a large portion of the budget now, and we haven't really looked at statistically how this is validated among all the systems. So I do think that there's a lot of advantage to having a 7-member board.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think it's been reiterated several times that it's obvious that this board's purpose for the library is governance. Am I correct in saying that? We can appoint members to the board, and we also allocate money. We appropriate monies to the library. And, you know, for a long period of time, those monies were appropriated, and in a sense, no disrespect to city members that were here during that time, but in a sense, not even looked at. And then all of a sudden, they got drew under scrutiny, and now they're being looked at. And for the future of the library, to me, that should make people feel good. That we are being engaged, and we are, especially as tax-paying citizens, that we are appropriating money justly and holding fiscal accountability. I would follow that up with asking I forget the exact verbiage, but to say that the library system is not in good standing is a very broad statement, and as a board member, I would like to know more specifics to that.
How's the 7-member board going to improve the finances? I mean, they would. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Ms. White, I can't follow you down that comment. I followed you down that road one time and put us where we are. And I'll put good faith in a comment like it from you again. I'm sorry. I have every reason to believe that the library's doing fine. If there's something that lays here on paper that shows me ain't, then I'll go with it. But, that's where I'm
Mr.
at.
Chairman, I would request that a review of the financial position of the library be done. That's where I think it's hard to maintain independence with a member of the board serving as chairman. It almost needs to be an unbiased party that would look at it. But right now, when we're having to use reserve money, that's a one-time thing to fulfill a budget, and it still isn't covering it. I think that it's a misstatement to say all is well. When one part of the system suffers, the whole system's going to suffer, and that's going to be Chilhowee, Sawville, and Marion. And that's just my formal statement, and we'll see how it all plays out. But it cannot sustain the current level of services with the existing money that's there. And I will stand by that, Mr. Stevenson.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have not seen any financial statement from a library, maybe I've just missed it, since we took over. I've not seen an audit. I've not seen a monthly cash flow report. As far as I know, we've not been given anything to look at. So I'm gonna go back to what I originally said. I just think we need a 7-member board. I think it gives us more accountability. And so I'm gonna make a motion that we proceed with reestablishing a 7-member board, one from each specific district for the library trustees.
I second that motion.
We got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
As a follow-up to this, I would like to propose a resolution. Last year, we went through a thing at the state legislature level in an attempt to piggyback onto another county's proposal to do away with the library board. And if that's not the intent of this board, if it truly is to see the library be prosperous and successful, then I'd like to see us do a resolution that says that we will not ask for, encourage, or support any legislation to remove the requirement to have a library board.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Campbell, yeah, we're bound by Code of Virginia. Code of Virginia lays out rules and regulations to what governing bodies can and can't do. Would such a resolution be prohibiting to this body in regards to our coverage under the Code of Virginia?
Let me say, the General Assembly will consider, I'm sure, any legislation that's proposed by any member of the General Assembly. Certainly, resolutions from boards of supervisors are compelling factors in making a decision whether or not an individual member may carry that bill or the General Assembly may pass that bill. But having said that, you are absolutely bound by what the General Assembly provides. Currently, 42.1-35 of the Code of Virginia, which governs county library boards, which is what you have now, provides that you have to have a minimum of 5 members. It does not set a ceiling. So ultimately, it's in the discretion of the local county Board of Supervisors as to how many members will be on that board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
that Mr. Campbell, is it not correct that last year you introduced a bill that piggybacked on with another county to do away entirely with a library board here in Smyth County?
I proposed an amendment to
Yes,
an existing piece of legislation.
It was a backdoor thing, but it would have been
I resent you saying it was a backdoor thing.
well, but in effect, it would have dissolved the library board.
In effect, it would have given, no ma'am, it would have given the discretion to the local Board of Supervisors to make the determination whether it chose to have a local board or not.
Okay, well, in the spirit of transparency as a board, I would like to know, and I'd like that resolution, that we don't plan on doing that again.
I think the bill didn't even get out of committee, correct?
Because there were lots of phone calls, lots of petitions.
Am I correct that the bill didn't even come out of committee?
The bill was pulled from committee.
It was pulled from committee.
Yes.
So,
By-
just know in the general, I don't know very much about what you guys do up there, but if the bill was pulled from committee last year, I can't imagine there's a very large likelihood of it resurfacing.
Well, unless we do it.
Again, I don't think you understood my comment, Ms. Wyatt. I told you that certainly it's fine. You can pass a resolution in support of the same or pass a resolution in opposition to the same. Ultimately, it is the purview of the General Assembly to consider whether to allow the local Board of Supervisors, any Board of Supervisors for that matter, the discretion whether to have a local library board.
But you did take that to the General Assembly.
Absolutely. I just told you. I took that
Yes.
and proposed an amendment to an existing bill.
That's my concern again, is that we're going to try and do something like that. And I think that's the concern of a lot of citizens also.
A handful of citizens, I will agree with you.
A handful?
Yes.
Maybe we should, I don't think it was a handful. It depends on what your interpretation of handful is. When Israel or Quinn's office was bombarded with phone calls, when there were petitions of hundreds of names in just a couple of days, and these are taxpayers and citizens, I don't think we can play games with this.
Okay. Well, I was there, and I know exactly how many phone calls were made. And again, it was not hundreds.
Well,
Was that a motion you had made, Ms. Wyatt, for that?
as far as a resolution.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
wouldn't- Yes, sir.
Did you second that?
I did.
Is there any more discussion on it? Anybody else? All those in favor? Opposed? Is there any more discussion about the library? I'd just like to say, I think that we've got litigation pending, and I'm all open to revisit this after our litigation is over. One question I guess I have, as much as any, is I understand I don't have a member on the board currently, but I'm just curious, do people in the Park District not have representation, or are they slighted because they don't have a member from the Park District being in the library system? I think that being a library board of 7 versus a board of supervisors of 7 with district specifics, we're dealing with county taxes, we're dealing with roads improvements, we're dealing with water rates, with water leakages, and so many things that I think that's where equal representation for those type situations require district-specific people. I don't know, I'm just, and I'm not taking away from the importance of the library board at all, but I wonder by the Park District and Rich Valley District not having a representative on the board if they're being slighted, if the Park District people are being, if it matters, if it hurts people in those areas by not being represented. I'm curious about that. But like I said, I'm willing to revisit it later. I can't make a motion on revisiting later, but I think we've talked about this for some time and made announcements for some time that we will deal with this, or we will revisit it after litigation's over. And litigation's not over, so I still stand behind when litigation is over. I'm open to talk about it, so. Is there any more discussion about the library? All right. 4 for Life distribution.
Mr. Chairman, I'll take that. Page 27 of your agenda, you have a letter that was sent to me from Shannon Williams and her 911. County receives and participates in this program each year. This year, for a period of March 1 of 2017 through February 28 of 18, we were entitled to $27,495.52. We have a recommendation to basically split, as we always do, those funds 4 ways between the town of Marion Fire and EMS, the town of Chilhowie Fire and EMS, the Saltville Rescue Squad, and the Sugar Grove Life Saving Crew. So that consideration is before you tonight.
It's a pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? I would like to jump ahead, if I could. I guess I can. Mr. Johnson's in the audience, and I think that's something I'd like to. Could we cover that? Jump into budget committee.
Yeah. Good chair.
I'm just wondering whether to do a portion of it or just go ahead and do the whole budget committee recommendation. It's on page 31. We can just go through the whole I know that's on last, but we can go through the budget committee recommendations. Mr. Carter, if you help me out on some of those, and I do want to address that last one if you don't care.
Sure. Page 31 of your agenda, we have the minutes from the budget committee that met on November the 7th. First item was a budget transfer for the sheriff's department. Basically, they have some recognized savings through some attrition that allows them, through the comp board, to move money from salaries into, in this instance, vehicle maintenance. So they have asked to transfer $2,189 from salaries into vehicle maintenance. The committee discussed that and made that recommendation before you tonight.
That is a committee recommendation. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor?
Second item is actually an amendment to your existing budget. Through the budgeting process this past year, Fund 761, which was set up last year to allow for the Commonwealth Attorney's Office to provide funding to some of our local resources. This year, there was a remaining balance, according to the Treasurer's report, of $12,605. That wasn't the case during the adoption of the budget. There's been a recognition of that from the Sheriff's Department, and are asking to amend our current county budget in that same amount, going from your current $87,875.46 to consider $87,888.151 with this amendment. The committee discussed this. The funds are available within the revenues of the county, so that's also a committee recommendation.
That is a committee recommendation. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Some of the additional discussion, everyone is familiar with the SROs within the schools and the discussion that's taking place at the board level. We've continued that discussion into committees, and basically at this time we had the committee met with our school superintendent and our sheriff, and basically have put together some thoughts for them to go out and collect and compile some additional data and bring back to the committee to allow further consideration of this at the moment. If that's Mr. Ray, Mr. Dishner, Mr. Blevins, you guys are on that. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I followed up after that committee meeting. There was an interesting article in I think it was in the Bland County newspaper that Bland County has been successful in obtaining. They had a full-time position. Gentleman retired. They were able, and that full-time position was covering 2 schools. They were able to attract and bring in 2 very seasoned officers with over 58 years experience at a part-time level. And now instead of filling 1 school, they're putting people in 2 schools. And I think the consensus, not to speak for everybody that was there, but I think the movement that we're making is to try to get someone in every school, but do it in a physically responsible way. And you know, I think we've got to have 3 people that have just retired from state police, town of Marion, town of Chilhowie, town of Saltville. There's got to be 3 people in our community that would be willing to make a decent part-time wage to protect our kids in this county. And that's the direction we're moving in. Or at least that's the direction I feel we're moving. I don't want to speak for everybody that was present, but I think so. Please, if you know anybody that fits that bill, I think they would be. There's got to be people out there willing to sign up for that.
Okay. Next item was there was a tax refund request by Russell's Chapel. The Commissioner of Revenue's office sent the request up. The committee had asked for some additional information, and that will be covered at their next meeting for future consideration. We also have received a proposal from a firm, Alcade and Fay, which are a group that some of our Southwest Virginia neighbors are looking at to assist in the legislative process for the upcoming year, specifically on cigarette tax and the opportunities that may exist for localities to be able to basically enact a similar tax. At this point, the committee, after reading the proposal, at this point the committee has chosen not to take any action. There will be some follow-ups to this, more information as we move forward. We also had a letter from Hickok Fern and Company, who performs our pre-audit work for the county. Basically, it addressed some of the concerns and possible solutions with some of our outside agencies on assisting with that process moving forward. And I will have meetings with those responsible individuals to identify those concerns. The next item was from Mr. Greg Pratt, who purchased a parcel at one of our tax sales over in the Rich Valley area. He purchased a piece of property for $4,000. There was some miscommunication in the process with those parties involved. He incurred some expense. He identified those, and committee reviewed. Didn't take any action on it at the time. At this point, it's a matter of probably rediscussing some issues with Mr. Pratt and moving forward with that. And then we get to the issue Mr. Dishner identified with the flags, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. It'd been brought before the county a bunch and about the issue with the flag, and is the county flying the flag, and are we flying it right, are we flying it enough, not enough? Hit social media and just went haywire. I think that this Board of Supervisors and the county in the whole is a pretty patriotic bunch of people, and I don't know, I took offense to it as much as I guess a lot of you did, but and without trying to slight anybody whatsoever, I thought the best place to take this would be to the VFW, because I said out of the respected group of of men and women in our county, that's about as highly respected group. So, and with the flag issue, I thought that was the exact place to go for that advice. So I went on November the 1st. Mr. Johnson had invited me to come by and talk to them, and I did, and explained our situation, and the VFW's committee, or the VFW as a whole that night, I think one of the comments was lead by example, and their flag is flown outside. It's an all-weather flag with lighting on it, and it's flown 24 hours a day. So that's what the VFW had given me to bring back to the committee or to the board and talk about. So we brought this before the budget committee because it has a nominal amount of money that needs to be added to be able to make this happen. So it is going to come out from the committee as a recommendation to spend up to $1,500 to buy wreath flags on 3 poles and lighting, 2 poles.
3 flags on two poles.
2 poles at the courthouse.
And 2 flags here at this facility.
Correct. And we've looked into lighting. Mr. Simpson had got some ideas together for solar lighting, and then we kind of got to worrying about, well, if we do solar lighting and then it's darker, longer amounts of time in the winter times, that means the lights will be on or off. So we're still kind of tinkering with that, to trying to find the right lighting to go into play for there. But Mr. Johnson, you're welcome to address that. If you have anything you'd like to say, I think the board members that I talked to said they felt that was as good a place to go as there was to go and ask for advice. And yes, sir.
Thank you. As you know or don't know, the 3x5 flag is an all-weather flag, which means it can fly 24 hours a day. And you do not have to have a light shining directly on the flag. And I think at the courthouse that it has adequate light with the street lights. You can see it from the street. Our main concern is that the flag flies appropriately, and that we always remember what the flag stands for.
Absolutely.
We're having a lot of difficulty now throughout our country with people that don't want to respect the flag. But when you've been in a combat area and you've seen flags that flies 24 hours a day, we would like to see our flag shining in this town. So, I appreciate your concern. And like I said, whether we get the light on it, just call it a light, it doesn't matter. You can see the flag from probably anywhere across the street. We just want to make sure that it is viewed with respect.
I appreciate your time for coming up here tonight and for letting me speak to you the other night. So,
And, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. And most important, thank you for your service as well.
absolutely.
You're welcome to come to our meeting anytime you want.
Thank you, sir.
We meet the first Thursday of each month. And our veterans are very dedicated to this area. We have bingo on Saturday nights, and we give approximately $70,000 a year back into the community and to the school. If you come to one of our meetings, the people that come, they always say, you are our first responders for a donation. But and you're always welcome to give that. As far as the flag, we can furnish the flags.
Excellent.
The people in the community bring aluminum cans up, we crush them and sell them and buy U.S. flags that we give out to any nonprofit organization, cemeteries or whatever.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to just acknowledge that also, we've talked a lot about the library tonight, but the VFW certainly gives several $100s to support our children's programming in the summer. And that's, for years you've done that, and I commend you for that. I see that firsthand. I know you supported like the scale program before, and there are lots of different things that people don't see that aren't really visible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will have to be a little bit funny now. When I went to the VFW meeting, I was introducing myself to some people, and the first thing somebody asked me, he said, "Are you here for a check?" And I said, "I'm here for free advice, and that is all." So, well, that was a committee recommendation. So is there any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I just want to say one thing. We get ridiculed a lot and different things, but thank you for having open dialogue and getting to the bottom of this, and
Thank you.
taking your time to do that. And I'm glad that we're getting this right.
We're hitting a positive tonight, Mr. Bowers.
On the internet, it said we were unpatriotic, the supervisors were. I'd like to tell everybody here, I've got a flagpole in my yard taller than the one we got out here. And my father-in-law was 26 years Green Beret Major in Field Special Forces. I am patriotic, I guarantee.
Charlie was a veteran. My grandfather was a Navy man, so I think we can all kind of go back in our history for that. So, all those in favor? Thank you. Release of special assessment, Green Valley Court.
Chairman, I'm gonna let Ms. Simmons do this.
All right.
Chairman, I guess on page 29 and 30 of your packet. If I can get to it. Mr. William Firestone has paid in full his special assessment as evidenced by the receipt from the treasurer's office. And accordingly, it would be appropriate for this board then to authorize me to record a certificate of satisfaction with respect to that special assessment. I need a motion to that.
I'll make that motion that we enter into that certificate of satisfaction with permission to record.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Building and Grounds Committee, Mr. Stevenson, you want that one?
Mr. Simpson, you probably take that ball for me, won't you, Mr. Simpson?
I'll be happy to, thank you. We had a meeting of Building and Grounds Committee on October 29th, and the first item of business we had is an update concerning the back of the Dragon Overlook project. The design is essentially complete, and we're in the phase of working out with VDOT and the Hungry Mother State Park and landowners up on the mountain about ownership of the asset when it's finished and who's going to maintain the property after construction. We've had some good dialogue about that, and I think we're working towards a good resolution for everybody on that situation. There was also some discussion. There is a small parcel of land that's about 920 square feet that's privately owned up at the current overlook, and that land, we had discussion about the acquisition of that piece of land, which is needed for the construction of the overlook wall. Originally, the land is to be donated by the landowner with request for the overlook to be named after someone in their family, and the committee discussed that issue and decided to move forward with approaching the landowner following the VDOT rules to purchase the 932 square foot parcel utilizing the project funds following the VDOT procedure. So that was the direction staff was given from the Building and Grounds Committee to work towards acquiring that parcel.
through the purchase process.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
about what would be the approximate value? I mean, how much are we going to have to pay as opposed to having had the land donated? Is there any estimate?
Well, the procedure requires that, obviously, hiring an appraiser, getting an appraisal of the property done, but just in my simple mind, an acre is 43,560 square feet. So if you figured that an acre is worth $43,560, that's $1 a square foot. So at most, it's mountain land worth $2,000 or $3,000 an acre, divided by the 43,000 square feet. This 900 square feet of piece of land is not worth much more than a couple $100.
$60. We're buying the view. What's to keep him from doing something on that other side and straight down the side of the mountain there to disrupt our view?
There's not.
What are you gonna build, 1,000-foot tower?
You know, JS.
Well, that's only a 2,000-foot drop down to there. I mean, hell, if he's got that kind of money, let him build it. I wanna come and look at it.
Hey, let's talk to him. He can build one hell of a zip line.
It's straight up and down. It's a piece of rock. And, you think the library's a touchy subject? Go over and talk to some of them people who have to live with these motorcycles.
I have had some experience.
That's my district, man. And, stepping on hollow ground. There's a lot of good people over there that has made that valley what it is, not taking nothing away from nobody. And if that thing's gonna get named something, it ought to represent everybody in that valley. So that's where I am on it. I just don't see a whole lot of trouble over nothing that we seem to kick around here. It's a 200 piece of property. I'd give it in a heartbeat if somebody needed it.
I just think we're going to have that dragging back through here on us all the time.
Well, I mean, it's worth $200. Hell, I can probably write a check for $200.
I don't think the money's the issue. I just think it's going to keep coming back to us.
So y'all it's right now it's still in.
It's in limbo with the state to see where the state's even. The issue here with the committee is who's going to be responsible for this place. Somebody's got to pay for this place when it goes on. At first, and correct me anytime I'm wrong, but the first concern was that we didn't know whether the state was going to own it, and we was going to have to keep it up. So, which, if you've ever come across the mountain and seen a graffiti in the middle of the road, you'll find out there's going to be some upkeep. Repainting. Destruction, it happens. Constant. So the thing of the committee is asking now to see if the state's going to own this and if we're going to take care of it, which I think makes a big difference. I realize this was grant money. I don't think we ought to have to come up with $50,000 every year to keep a whatever clean.
Mr. Chairman, I really enjoy the dialogue, and Mr. Stevenson, I do. But I would just ask in respect that we watch our language.
What did I say wrong?
Well,
I would like for you to respect me and let me say what I got to say. I've listened to your...
I think four-letter words, man.
Well, if I said it, then, you just have to do it.
But I respect what you say.
I know you don't. You don't respect nothing.
Mr. Chairman.
You want to continue on with this? Mr. Simpson, finish
Yes,
this
sir.
up.
I'm following up with VDOT and working through the procedure to purchase a piece of property. The next item, the advertisement for sealed bids for the Cornerstone building is completed, and the committee meeting say it'll be placed in the paper. It's actually been in the paper. We're receiving sealed bids on the Cornerstone building there across from the courthouse. Tina Combs, our maintenance superintendent, updated the committee regarding the facilities. She indicated there's no major problems at any of the facilities, and they're obviously working on all minor issues as they come up. The IT department, we had a water leak back there with the air conditioner and the drain that condensate flows into.
which that had the drywall getting wet, and out of precaution, we took steps to remove some surface mold from the walls, and we removed the drywall in the room, taken air samples, and that's the cleanest room in the building. So we're in good shape back there in the IT room. Over the next few weeks, we'll figure out how to get the wall back up so that they have their soundproofing in there. The next item is I updated committee regarding Riverside Community Center. Over the past several years, it's been increasingly difficult to receive the payment from the Riverside Community Center for their insurance. As you all know, the community center is owned by the county and leased to the Riverside Ruritan Club, and it's housed on the county's insurance policy, and they reimburse the county for that premium. We haven't received the last 2 years worth of premiums, and the building has fallen into some disrepair with some broken windows, and needs some boarding up in some areas to keep the pests and the weather out of the building. So,
Is our agreement a triple net? I mean, they're responsible for, well, it wouldn't be triple net because there's no taxes on it, but they are responsible for repairs, upkeep.
For all electricity and water and gas and everything related to the building.
So that building is in really bad disrepair.
I've had several complaints about it myself.
I had complaints with the election being there.
And I've been pretty vocal tonight, but this spring, this is a prelude into something else that I've been, I don't know, for some reason this has been on my mind with things that I encountered over the last week. I think that would be a good start for us. We have we have great assets. We have, we have Hungry Mother. I think we benefit from Mount Rogers. I think we benefit from a lot of things, but as a county, we have no parks. We have no recreation as a county. And I think that parcel of land and a few other parcels of land, along with bringing the towns involved as their rec department, we do a lot of things for tourism and different things, but I can't think of one specific thing directly. We have 4-H, we have things that help our youth, but I think we got to start looking at what we can do to put things, because these travel teams, they take up a lot of stuff, but that's not for every kid out there. That's largely for privileged kids. And I may be wrong. I'm sure there's some variances from that, but I think we don't need to miss an opportunity as we further this conversation to look at what we do as far as parks and recreation as a county, and with the towns involved. And I think it's a multifaceted conversation, but I think this is a good chance with this specific parcel to start that conversation. Anyways, sorry to get on that tangent.
There you go.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would just like to say, I agree with what Mr. Ray was saying. And also, to be able to start a dialogue in the school system, to be part of that also.
Absolutely, yes.
But like I said, there is a need. And if we could bring a lot of organizations and groups together to fulfill that need, to benefit our kids, that would be a win-win for everyone.
Sounds like a task force getting ready to take shape. Are you finished with that, Mr. Simpson? I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
you've got the
committee made a recommendation for staff to send a certified mailing to the Riverside Community Center requesting prompt payment of the insurance premium and notifying them of the 60-day clause of discontinuation of the lease if that's not paid.
That is a committee recommendation.
Are we covered if the building's in disrepair? If they pay their premiums, do we have that still don't satisfy the state of disrepair that the building's in?
The agreement itself would most likely have to be looked at for clarification.
Okay.
Will that be addressed further with being that it's a county building and its shape? I mean, if the insurance, if they don't, and then it's still the county building, then do we revisit this building and its usages and its repair and?
And if you remember back, you adopted last month's meeting an agreed upon value for that facility. So, worst case scenario, we revisit that issue based on their actions.
Yeah.
And whatever direction comes from the committee as a recommendation to the board, that's the steps you'll take thereafter.
Any more discussion?
I have a question. Talking about last month's meeting, we had that VACO report where we valued the property we own. Did you find out anything on the Armory? Aren't we half owners of that?
No, sir.
It is a federal building. We own the land half and half with the town of Marion, but the
building
itself is a federal building.
So it's just the land we own?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of the committee recommendation? Okay. Thank you. Ordinance Committee, no recommendations. Mr. Atkins, you're acting chair of that.
You got me go through what we talked about. We made no recommendations. We updated we talked about the comprehensive plan. The planning commission wanted some direction from us as to how we wanted to proceed. It's time to update our plan, and we suggested the session could look at it with no changes, and if we wanted to do anything, we would come back after the plan was updated. With no changes, we'd come back and maybe make amendments at that point.
Okay.
But there's no recommendation needed.
Water and Sewer Committee, Mr. Call.
Yes. Open the meeting at 3:59. Mr. Simpson presented the fee options for the acceptance of credits/debit cards at the water office as well as building inspector department. Rates for utilities are set by exchange and is 1.25% plus 10% per transaction. The county has two programs to implement in-person payments and online payments. Due to banking regulations, a debit card cannot be surcharged a usage fee in person, but a credit card can. Discussion of different payment options and fees continued. The Treasurer's Office currently accepts person debit, credit/debit card payments, and the county absorbs the fees, which total between $10,000 to $13,000 annually. Cost of absorbing the fees for the water department and building department is difficult to calculate because it's on usage. An estimate of 20% collections would be to approximately $3,500 per year in fees. The online system would charge a user convenience fee by the third-party processor comparable to our current provider arrangement. This new provider will charge a 3.5% fee for credit cards. This percentage structure will provide a savings actually to our customers whose bills are less than $84 a month, which is most of it, as compared to the $2.95 flat fee charged by our current provider. The cost of the terminals is a one-time fee of $300 each. After discussion, the Chilhowee District Supervisor Curtis Ray made a motion to provide two terminals in the water sewer office, one terminal in the building department for the county to absorb all the person fees and to allow the third-party vendor to charge the customer the convenience fee for online payment services. This provides the necessary consistency between all locations taking over-the-counter payments, all agreed unanimously. The staff was directed to determine a budget amount and areas from which to transfer the funds necessary to implement this service. The committee recommendation.
That is the committee recommendation. Is there any more discussion on that? All those in favor?
Okay. Mr. Simpson then informed the committee since the time a recommendation was made to purchase a pickup truck with remaining rural development funds, a much more pressing need has arisen. The portable air compressor in the water sewer department has quit working and does not appear to be cost effective to break the machine down to determine the specified repairs needs. This compressor is approximately 25 years old, has served the county well, but it is likely time for a new portable air compressor. Staff solicited proposals from vendors for a new machine equivalent to our current compressor. The low bid is from Carter Caterpillar in the amount of $18,650 for a Solar Air 185, which is the exact make and model the county has. Mr. Ray made a motion to recommend award the bid to Carter Caterpillar for the purchase of an air compressor in the amount of $18,650. All agreed unanimously. Committee recommendation.
Is there any more discussion?
One thing on there, just for, you never know who's looking at these things, but just for clarification, that was not, I would be correct in saying that was not the low bid. There was a low bid, but it was for an inadequate piece of equipment.
Okay. Wasn't the same size.
Right.
And it might not be able to do some of our projects in the future. So we had to opt for a little higher bid.
We asked for 185 cubic foot per minute machine, and we received bids on 185s and then also a bid for 100.
Right.
It was $14,000 a change, but it's not adequate for what we need.
That's still quite a bit cheaper than the truck, correct? Was the truck be coming in, you didn't put a bid out for the truck, but...
7,000, yeah. Truck's about 25,000.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Okay, next, Mr. Simpson then presented the annual water sewer rate report filed by Draper Hayden and a spreadsheet of the Smyth County rates as compared to our neighboring communities. The county rates for water and sewer fall well within a median when compared to adjoining providers. They were a lot better. He then informed the committee the first quarter revenues and expenses for the water and sewer department as compared to the first quarter of the last fiscal year. The revenue is up $67,629, and expenses have increased by $39,454. To date, a total of 25.46% of budgeted revenues have been collected in the first quarter. With nothing else to discuss, I adjourn the meeting at 4:50 p.m. That's all I need.
Thank you, sir. On our additional agenda, we've got a Speyside Bourbon Cooperage Trial Performance Agreement with Smyth and Washington counties. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if you'll recall, a couple of weeks back, the board approved a performance agreement with respect to the Smyth County portion of this. It was related to the Tobacco Region Revitalization Grant. Since then, one has been developed with respect to the Washington County portion, of which Smyth County is a member. Prior to this meeting, I guess probably an hour and a half prior to this meeting, Speyside had proposed some additional revisions to the agreement that are substantive in nature. I think the members of the board have clean copies with those revisions in front of them at this point. And what I'd like to do is just go through the revisions and sort of illustrate to you what they would do. And as much as you've not had an opportunity to review those. On the first page, they're simply adding a wholly owned subsidiary of the company as a party to the contract. That was something that was certainly contemplated during the recruitment of this company, so it doesn't take us by surprise in any way, and it doesn't really affect the performance of this agreement necessarily. On page 2, About halfway down, we're basically adding a provision that recites that the extension of the grant was a material inducement to the company locating here. And certainly, while that, I have no problem with the recitation of that in the written contract, that's certainly something I think that could have been reasonably inferred at law, quite frankly, if in fact the grant was not extended, that it would be a material default, basically, that would allow the company to avoid locating here. I think that's something that could be inferred, but the recitation of it is I have no issues with. On page 3, in section 3, they're simply restating the quarter ending date on the beginning quarter of measuring the target employment as September 30th, and I think that's to reflect the fact that this has been ongoing now since June. On page 4, they added a provision that basically says that the parties to the contract are acknowledging that the company and the parent company are related entities. Basically, that the wholly owned subsidiary that has now been added as a party are related in nature, and that the employees of either such entity shall be counted as employees of the company, provided that both entities supply the commission with the employment documentation as described. I'll get to the impact of that in just a moment. Over on page 5, it addresses the fact that as to the basically it identifies or better spells out, I think, that the company ultimately will be given credit for its location of its taxable assets hereunder as assessed by the Commissioner of Revenue. I think so. I think it better spells out what the duties was in the previous sentence, I think. The next change, which is the next paragraph, would again recite that the parties are acknowledging that the company and the parent company are related entities, and the taxable assets of either such entity shall be countable as taxable assets of the company. So the substantive change there, if you will follow on over to if you'll track back up that paragraph on the same page, the contract provides that taxable assets owned by subsidiary companies, related entities, or entities under common ownership or control shall not be counted as taxable assets of the company in fulfillment of its taxable asset obligation hereunder, unless the entities and the relationships to the company are disclosed and approved by the Commission in writing. Now, obviously, that's not yet been approved by the Commission with respect to this material change and allowing the company basically to count parent company employees and taxable assets toward their targets. So let me say this. In addition, I just got an email at 5:19 from Speyside, and they have expressed that they wish to amend the Smyth County agreement, which you have already previously approved and entered into. In the same fashion, I take it, although he hasn't spelled out in his email that he wants to what types of provisions he wishes to amend. He, in fact, I would take it, would want to amend the Smyth County portion of the agreement in the same fashion as he's asking the Washington County portion here to be amended. And the issue I have with that, obviously, is that what he's proposing is something that the Tobacco Commission ordinarily does not do. It does not allow a parent company to create a subsidiary or a related entity and then utilize existing employees in the parent company or newly created employees in the parent company or newly purchased equipment in the parent company to be credited toward the target of what they're obligated to do in this agreement. So what I would suggest to you, and in a telephone conversation with Washington County, I think Michael can chime in on this, but I think they are anxious about moving this forward in a timely fashion because they're concerned about the extension of the grant and the possible compromise of the project. They would like us to approve this agreement conditioned upon the Tobacco Commission approving these revisions as suggested by Speyside. I think that's a call you all have to make tonight, is whether or not you wish to conditionally approve this for purposes of moving the ball forward. It's certainly something we can come back and revisit at a later date if necessary. But I anticipate and would suggest to you that we ought to get the Tobacco Commission approving those changes before we sign off on them finally, and without condition.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a second meeting this month.
We do not.
Oh, we do not have a second meeting this month. The discussion at Swiffer was a called meeting for the purpose of moving this forward, first or second week of December, correct? Which would be prior to our board meeting.
But the window is very tight.
Right.
With that.
And I correct me if I'm wrong, I worked for a company that was structured very similar to this right out of college, and they had Tectronic Industries, and then they had subsidiaries. And like, regional manager would be an employee of the parent company, but not the subsidiary. So, you know, in theory, they would have to prove that there were boots on the ground in Meadowview or in Glade or Atkins to count that employee, correct?
Well, boots on the ground is a term of art, obviously.
Right.
And
so they could allocate HR and payroll admin and...
Well, we don't, you know, the reality is this. I think that's the reason that the Tobacco Commission has always structured their agreements with a prohibition against being able to use parent company new employees as a credit against your existing obligations in an agreement. You know, and quite frankly, that's a material change. I don't know that was the intent of Speyside. These changes have been proposed at the last minute. He may simply be trying to protect his client, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, I really am going to be shocked if the Tobacco Commission is willing to sign off on these proposed changes. So I don't want to stymie the process of the project, but at the same time, I don't want us to enter into something that gives them flexibility to be able to basically not employ the number of people that has been represented to us, or not create the amount of capital investment that has been represented to us either. So the language needs to be tightened up.
And the parent company would cover all of that probably before it even, I mean, that would probably meet the requirements of the agreement currently.
I mean, theoretically, I think this agreement as it's written, I mean, there's no question, I think, that we can make a solid argument that simply because you hire someone who's employed by the parent company, if they're not working in Smyth County, you know, then they shouldn't be credited against your target obligations. But there is flexibility in this language, I think, that would give them the ability to make that play. And so that's why I think it does need to be tightened up. I suggested that tonight, and I don't think, again, I don't think that Speyside's intent was in any way this, you know, along these lines, but I think to protect us, I think the way to handle this is to conditionally approve it upon the Tobacco Commission approving the same and tightening the language up with respect to the actual employment and taxable asset numbers in Smyth County.
I'll make a motion, and I'll just say one thing before. You know, they've duplicated this process in the state of Ohio. You can look up Speyside Bourbon Cooperage in Ohio, and you'll see a very familiar blue building. So they've done well with that project, with the state of Ohio, Bath County. So I make the motion that we approve approve with the changes conditional upon the Tobacco Commission's recommended changes.
Which would be to, in the tighten up the language a little.
Well, yeah.
I would second that motion.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Any more discussion? Mr. Carter, are you talking, is this all the legal that Spayside's attorneys are handling with and this is an attorney matter that's going on? Have you heard people that
I wish it was an attorney matter that's going on. I wouldn't have spent my afternoon on the phone with them, but it's just a continuation. And I say this with all good smiles and spirit. These are good problems to have. To working out the intricacies of these agreements and to be tasked with that, certainly not a burden whatsoever. It's a privilege. So it's just a matter of getting it all straight.
it's just getting it straight? It's not now they're scared off and run. It's just we need to work it out kind of a deal.
The governor wouldn't have stood behind the podium on Monday and talked about Smyth County and Speyside bourbon cooperage if it was an issue.
I got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
something hit me while we were talking about, may I speak to a matter?
Yes.
And maybe it's to come up, but I do think that there was some opportunities after closed session to address 3 other agreements.
That's what we're getting to right now.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion, as we discussed in closed session, with an unidentified business, that we adopt the 3 agreements as presented, and
Approve the 3 agreements.
approve the 3 as presented,
And then authorize the,
execution of them by a county administrator or chairman.
And that was with the correction of
the employment.
With the correction on the opportunity, sorry, I batched this all up. With the correction on the opportunity fund agreement that the number of jobs be updated to current numbers versus previous.
Second.
Motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Did I get pretty well the agenda?
Minus the appropriations.
Oh, my stars, we did appropriations, I think, at the end of our last meeting. We get a little carried away sometimes. I got to find my appropriation list now.
Good thing none of the departments are here. They'd have been really sweating it if they weren't going to get any money.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I hate to bring this up, but I think when we come out of closed session, we didn't certify what we had talked about. Did we? Yeah.
Right after the pledge.
We just didn't wake you up for it.
Thank you.
You didn't second it, though.
Thank you. I don't remember.
Under general county accounts payable listing, $905,862.74. Payroll, $697,735.03. Auto draft rural development, $8,974. AEP CenturyLink bill, $25,000. County administration fund, $5,000, for a total county appropriation plus carryover of $1,650,000.
So moved. Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Sheriff's Department car fund, $744, $118,703.70.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Social Services, November 14th through the November the 30th of 2018, of $395,000. December the 1st through December the 11th, $60,000, for a total social services of $455,000.
So moved. Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? School operating fund, instruction, $2,900,000. administration, attendance, and health, $115,000. Transportation, $195,000. Facilities, $325,000. School food service, $400,000. Technology, $80,000. For a total school operating fund of $4,015,000. Any more discussion? All those in favor? School debt and capital outlay, $907,000. Any more discussion? All those in favor? EDA Fund 4, $16. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Sheriff Fund 748, $2,018.58.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Recovery Court Fund 749, $28,730.59.
So moved.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? All right, so now I think I got the appropriations done at the end of the meeting again this time. On the agenda-wise, there's the county holiday notification reminder. Be closed a half day on November 21st and all day November 22nd, November 23rd for Thanksgiving holiday.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Getting an additional reminder to pass on to you. I received that yesterday in the afternoon.
Additional reminder.
It's, I'll give everyone a chance to see it, but it's an invite from our 4-H program. So put that on the calendars as well.
Lost my train of thought. All right. Supervisor comment time, Ms. Wyatt.
I would just like to thank everybody who came and for the discussion that we've had, and I hope that we can respect each other and know that we have a right to our opinions and be professional. I would like to thank our director for coming. I think he is doing a great job with the library. It's a pleasure to work with. And everyone who's helped the ministry succeed there.
Mr. Blevins.
Appreciate everybody and all the work you did, and those of you that stuck with us. And I would also just like to say to Chairman Dishner, I do appreciate you reaching out to the VFW. I know we have veterans on our board. I know everyone takes that very seriously, and I appreciate you for taking that extra step to get some advice from a very qualified group.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. Mr. Stevenson.
I want to thank both of you. You for what you said, you for the job you're doing. You're doing it when there's a whole lot going on. It'd be tough for anybody to do. You took ridicule from Mr. Buchanan here one night that was unfair, and I think you're doing a heck of a job. Each district elects somebody every couple of years. They have a representative. I like people with positive attitudes. It seems the one thing I hear more in this political ring that I've got myself into is negative attitudes. Negative never solves nothing. I like people with good ideas who solve. So, straightforward is just who I am. We made a decision on a library. It's running. The library is not the Smyth County Hospital. Nobody's bleeding to death. I would like to see the friends of the library move on to other important things. We got some good things happening in the county. Business, that's what matters. If we put as much effort in our schools as we did this library issue, I'd feel good about our kids. I'd feel good about them having a good library. That's where the library ought to be. We need a library. The doors need to be open. It was history, and at one time it was very critical. But to be totally honest with you, and don't take it wrong, I'm not against the library, but I don't need it. I got the Library of Congress right here. I used to have kids call me and ask me how to fix stuff or how to do something. Punch it in here and you got it. Why are we at each other's throats? We got a library. The main thing I would think would be to save the hard taxpayers of Smyth County all the money we could. And I hear everything about, we need a tax increase, we need to do this. We need to take care of the people who is out here scrubbing their knuckles every day trying to make a living. We need to take care of their dog. As long as I sit on this board, I will use my opinion. I knocked on door to door to get it, Ms. White. And you can count on, I will speak. I try to respect everybody here, and I'll let you have your say. But you can damn bet I'm going to have mine. That right was given to me. And I can sit here and go for all kinds of reasons why the library ended up the way it did. But I'm not going to do it. These people sitting behind this table that knows how it happened, who the whistleblower was, and who the troublemakers are. Now, I'd like to see the county move on and talk about our kids, or do stuff with business, or appreciate people who's doing a good job for the county, who's paying for a courthouse, a school, and we're not wasting as much money as we used to. Then I feel like my time here is not wasted listening to a bunch of crap. I don't feel that way tonight. I feel like I come here and listen to the same old crap that gets us nowhere. And quite frankly, I'm tired of it. Thank you.
Mr. Atkins?
Everybody have a safe trip going home and pray that the ice doesn't hit us.
Mr. Ray?
I said this before, and I think there's somebody else that said it before me. Hubert Humphrey said the impersonal hand of government doesn't go as far as the helping hand of a neighbor. And you coming here and thanking us, you doing the work you do at the library, I appreciate, there's 6 of you left, I appreciate y'all staying for the entire agenda, not just a singular, self-motivated piece of it. I appreciate y'all doing that. I agree with the sentiment that there's positive things going. We just need to focus on them. And you may be part of the conversation, something that came up that I thought of. If you're not part of the conversation of that overlook and that back of the dragon and what the naming should be, and you may not want any of that mess, hell I wouldn't. But I think you're an integral part of what that asset could do for us. So, and you may be part of that conversation already, but okay. Sorry, tangent. Bird. But anyway, that's all I got to say.
Mr. Powell?
Yes, Kelly made a copy of a House Delegates Select Committee on School Safety. I sat through a seminar at Verco. Very interesting. I'd give each one of you a copy to read over and everything. It talks about other methods to protect our school children with the resource officers, to counseling for mental health and all that stuff. Read it when you get a chance. And there's a whole lot of other stuff that, not just the children are involved in this, it's also the officers. They have problems every day. Children will come up and ask them stuff to do, what they should do on their situation and everything. They need some training on how to help them too. Stuff, they are stressed, their mind is stressed and everything. They went into a whole lot of details about it that we don't think of. But look this over. It's very interesting. Read it whenever you can, and have a safe trip home, and God bless.
I'm going to be a little bit yacky. I was in there, Mr. Call, and that same thing, and it seemed like there was a lot of focus on the child's mental health well-being as much as anything in that seminar. Mr. Campbell, there was a fella, and I'm going to have to get his name, but said that they are passing, or there's some counties, this is a northern county, are trying to get some legislation passed for retired sheriff department people to be able to earn extra time without it affecting their retirement, and I don't know enough to say that's an option. I'm just, when I get that information, whatever this councilman had on his mind, there were several counties trying to get that in play, to where part-time salaries could not affect the retirement of some of the employees, that they could just earn some extra money just for that specific case. So if I get that, I want to say some more to you about it.
It would be a narrow exception to the VRS requirement that they only work, I think it's less than 1,400 hours a year maybe.
Is that something to be we should talk about as a county, to be beneficial to us to try to support in there?
Okay.
Well, I'd like to, if we can,
I mean, the benefit.
we go to Richmond or whatever we do, that's just something that came up, and I don't know enough to put in the paper to say, hey, this is what this is about, but it's just on my tongue, I heard from it.
Yeah, I think that will gain some traction in the General Assembly, and of course it remains to be seen whether it passes or
Right.
not because of the cost. But
Very good. We did have our VACO conference. The governor came, spoke, talked a lot about investing in pre-K reading, healthcare, Interstate 81, broadbanding, opioid crisis. These are just things that he had mentioned that they are working on. I would like to say, and Mr. Ray mentioned it, here we are at VACO, every county in Virginia's there, and he says, who in here knows what a cooperage is? And he spells cooperage. Well, we're sitting there together going, and he's, so he just brought that up, that what an asset to have that, and that he had been to Smyth County and made that announcement, and how exciting that was for forestry and the agriculture field, and it was just really cool. So we're kind of setting a little bit tall for that, that little plug at VACO. Well, then I go into another committee meeting later that day. Give me a second. The future.
He actually said Smyth County. He didn't say Smyth, like most of them.
The future of agriculture, innovation, and growth. I went to that seminar, and the Secretary of Forestry and Agriculture was there. Giving her presentation, she says, well, it's real exciting in the forestry business, and Smyth County, Virginia has just had a Speyside cooperage open up. So there we go, we're getting another plug. So I think we might have been at dinner that night or something, and here's some counties come by, and they're all like, dang, you guys are like getting on the roster here today. So that was just real interesting, and I felt real proud to have done that. So I've got a couple thank yous. I've got one from the Mel Lehman Free Clinic. Thank you for your continued support for the Mel Lehman Free Clinic. We received your check, which will be used to support our mission in providing free medical and dental care for our patients. Without the support of our community, we would not exist. Kathy Main, Executive Director, I wanted to read that one. And then we got a thank you that I think we should return with a thank you. Dear Smyth County Board of Supervisors, thank you so much for allowing us to cater your meal today and for all you do for our county. Sincerely, Tina Fraser and the Bridge students. So they made us ham biscuits and some potatoes today. So that was nice of them. So I'd like to say thank you back to them. I hope you got what you needed, Ms. Porter, for the flag issue. If not, I know we had talked about that earlier. If you wanted, we can do more on that. But I appreciate y'all's support for that. I appreciate the crowd coming and positive. I don't know, it just kind of gave a good vibe. I know we had some negativity in here tonight too, but I don't know, it just kind of seems like we hit on some positive notes tonight, and I'm glad to be part of that. So, yakety yak. As far as I know, that's it. Everybody will.
Adjourn.
Second.